I had a video I wanted to watch. Apparently, there's a crisis in the rice markets. And it's only a 10-minute video, so let's find out. Don't you guys want to know why rice is in crisis? People can't get rice. It's crisis.
It's a crucial staple for over half of the world's population. And there might be a shortage that puts communities that need affordable rice
a global rice shortage.
The only shortage out there right now, it's India's plain white long grain rice.
That looks good.
Cheap and lower quality that they ship to developing countries.
Because rice is, loved all over the world, it also continues to be a manipulated commodity by governments.
Very cut up, this interview.
India's export bans are reverberating through global rice markets.
Does you have a favorite rice? I forget what Ari's is, but she demands we always get fucking... Tell me if this sounds right, if you guys know rice, because I don't. Kashikari rice? Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Am I making that up? I don't know what it is. Koshiakari? Maybe. I have to figure this out. Koshi Hikari rice. She's a very big stickler for that kind of rice. I don't know what it is about it. For me, it looks like white rice to me. But it's very oishi, as my fellow weebs will say.
The protectionist measures basically send a panic signal globally.
The U.S. has been dealing with India's over-subsidization. They've created this monster by subsidizing so much that now there's so many rice farmers that if they upset those farmers, that's a huge voting block.
Oh, interesting.
America's rice industry contributes over $34 billion to the economy.
Wait, I didn't even know we had a rice industry.
Farmers face the same volatility.
And our farmers, they'll go up against any rice farmer in the world, but they can't compete with the foreign government.
Rice is a finicky crop, and the U.S. produces about 20 billion pounds of it every year, despite changing climates that are making it even more difficult to grow.
With rice, it's not just a question of enough water, but enough water at the right time. So it doesn't need to be a corn or a soybean to be incredibly important to the U.S. agricultural economy.
Wait, okay, so we don't have a lot of rice. We've got a rice industry, but it's like 2%, 1% of our planet area. We're a corn country. We're a goddamn corn country, brother. If you need corn, come to the US of A, baby. High fructose corn syrup. Some of you other countries, I swear to God, you have low fructose corn syrup. And that makes you low T. Okay? That, if you don't have the high fructose, you don't have high anything.
U.S. agricultural economy.
Here's how rice markets can threaten affordable food, trade relationships, and the livelihoods of millions of farmers.
I'm sorry, just for the Europeans in chat. No, I'm sorry, for the Americans. Do you ever just wake up feeling blessed that you live in the greatest country on earth and then just down a full fucking half gallon of corn syrup? Do you ever just wake up, go to the fridge, find a half gallon of fucking pure extracted corn syrup and just fucking chug that shit and just think, God damn, thank God. Thank heaven above I live in the right place. Do you mean have breakfast? Yeah, I mean, sometimes I don't take it straight like that. I'll put my Captain Crunch in a bowl and then eat it, but I still get that half gallon.
There are about 40,000 different varieties of rice, but the market is comprised mainly of long grain, medium grain, and short grain rices.
Right.
As well as higher value rices like jasmine and basmati rice.
Right. What makes it different? I don't know shit about rice. I know brown rice and I know white rice at Chipotle. It's just grain size. What is the quality? I don't see color. Yeah, I don't see color, bro. Size of grain, stickiness, and also flavor. Stickiness is a factor, huh? Interesting. Fragrance. No, I absolutely have tasted the difference. I could never by taste, I think, identify rice. Except for basmati rice, right? Because that's the one where it's almost crispier and longer. Yeah. Okay.
People don't really think we grow rice in the U.S.
You can tell what I'm
it's
saying.
A small crop, right? We're on 3 million acres as opposed to some of the other crops. It's a crop that makes use of a lot of land that other crops can't make use of.
Most of the rice harvested in the U.S. is eaten in the U.S., about 80% of it.
Nice.
And also, if you think about your cereals like Rice Krispies, Kellogg's.
Hell yeah, brother. Now we're talking.
Or Chinese food,
Hell
service.
Hell
like
yes.
Rice is a key input into many products that we consume, but especially beer.
Anheuser-Busch is the number
I
one
didn't know
user
that.
of U.S. rice domestically.
I did not know
rice
that.
Requires unique growing conditions. It's a plant that's half submerged in pools of water, often on top of heavy clay soils that wouldn't effectively grow other crops.
At times when you think of a rice field, think of steppes.
Yes, I do.
A field maybe in India or maybe in Vietnam
That's
or
what
Thailand.
I think of.
We don't have land like that, right? Our land is flat, but the farmers will grade it slightly so that the water can move from one end of the field to the other.
Interesting.
And they can capture it and recycle it.
While the U.S. is the largest rice exporter outside of Asia, the U.S. only accounts for around 5% of global rice exports.
Yeah, basically it's all
The
come from Asia.
onset of the coronavirus pandemic and then the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war caused global inflationary pressures. Some countries responded to the market shock with export bans.
For an individual country, it makes sense to do export bans and help the more vulnerable parts of society. But if a lot of countries do that, and they are doing that now, it further pushes up prices.
Then one of the top rice-producing countries limited exports. India, a country which exports make up 40% of the world's rice supply.
Yeah, India is a larger rice exporter than the next 4 rice exporters in the world.
In September 2022, India banned exports of broken rice and imposed a 20% duty on exports.
What's broken rice? I'm learning a lot today. I always want to improve my knowledge. What is broken rice? Cheap rice? Low quality? It's overpowered.
What were we saying about rice?
Talk about broken rice. You know what that is?
Rice. No.
Apparently, it's just rice that's been stepped on. You know, it's like fucking that broken shit.
What is broken rice? Someone gonna say?
It's like they're actually
like,
broken.
Is it B grade rice or something?
Yeah, it's just low grade
rice.
Oh
yeah, that makes sense.
It's like triple B bonds, you know.
It's like a trench, yeah.
Of some rice
don't choke me for that.
India is a country that has suffered from food insecurity in a significant way. There's an understandable desire to ensure appropriate availability of staple foods like rice within the country. But there's a trade-off of that.
Yeah, where they're like,
you end up, distorting the price signal for farmers.
Rice prices spiked 15 to 20%. By 2023, rice prices hit their highest in almost 12 years. India added another export ban in July 2023 on its plain white long grain rice.
Not the plain white long grain.
We see
that's the classic
rise in rice prices across the region.
Part of the problem is that despite facing the same rising input costs for energy and fertilizer in comparison to other agricultural commodities, market prices
I got a question. My understanding is that the brown rice at Chipotle is just the white rice, but they did something to it. It's not. Like, what is the difference? The husk is left on. That's what the brown rice is, the husk. So it's better for you, right? It has been dyed. Yes and no. I'll just Google it right now. Brown rice contains less sodium and more fiber. Easy clap. Yeah, fucking done. Done and dusted. Brown rice is a whole grain that's minimally processed. Turning brown rice into white rice removes most of its nutrients. Fucking easy clap. Brown rice contains more arsenic. Is that true? I mean, actually, I know that's not true. I'm saying is you're saying it's true. You're saying it's true because you don't want to eat brown rice, bro. It's not true. Literally Google it. I won't. I won't. Everyone here is racist. Yeah, true. It's like leaving the skin on potatoes. That's good. The potato skin's where the fucking nutrients are, bro.
For rice stayed relatively stable, which makes it harder for farmers to make ends meet.
The equipment is expensive, the investment's expensive, and then you have all these outside factors really working against you. You know, a lot of times people will picture on pot kettle in overalls with a pitchfork. They're not going to picture an $850,000 combine.
Hell yeah, brother.
Connected
Factory farms.
India's rice export ban impacts developing countries that depend on its affordable rice. That adds to fears of global food insecurity if rice supplies are limited.
It's impossible to think about rice without thinking about the food security lens.
Over 42 countries depend on India for
Think about it like this. As global warming increases, we'll get more flooding, which means more floodplains to grow rice on. So if anything, this is a blessing. As long as we keep polluting, we'll be able to make more rice. Have I solved the problem here?
Over 50% of their total rice imports.
The only shortage out there right now would really be India's plain.
It won't be easy, but by God, we can try to pollute more. I need you guys to pull together. There's a rice shortage, goddammit. Get out there and pollute.
White, long grain rice that they ship to a lot of countries throughout Africa and Southeast Asia. They don't ship their best rice there. It's cheap and it's lower quality. And when they slap a ban in place, you know, that impacted those developing countries the hardest.
India has historically been the cheapest supplier of rice.
Africa or Southeast Asia, they're going to buy from India because they've got a ton of rice. They can get it here fairly quickly.
Right, makes sense.
For example, Indian rice made up over 80% of the market share in a number of African countries.
Okay, so when they do export bans, it fucks everyone else.
Indonesia, which is one of the largest producer itself, it is still vulnerable because it still requires imports to satisfy
They need a ton of
domestic
rice.
demand.
India states that its export bans ensure ample food supplies domestically. However, at the same time, food inflation concerns are at the center of India's elections.
You know, from an economic standpoint, it does not make sense for them to keep this ban in place or to have ever put it in place in the first place. It's purely political. You know, Prime Minister Modi is running for re-election. You know, he's seen consumers complaining about increased inflation and rice prices domestically. And what they're really doing is they're trying to secure enough rice in their domestic market that their prices will drop for consumers.
India has stockpiles of rice in government.
Preventing farmers from selling their rice overseas, so they have to sell it to a saturated market at home at lower prices to stop inflation in the short term. It's a really short-term solution so we can get to the elections. Doesn't that hurt farmers? Absolutely. They're making less money. Like the farmers, because they cannot export, means they must sell against each other only in India. So they're going to take less prices. It would hurt the farmers, but get him through an election. Yeah, it's like Biden. Yeah, exactly. Biden using the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, SPR, to try and keep gas prices down in the short term to get through the elections.
Storage, and is harvesting one of the largest rice crops on record.
The other risks that we see are, of course, rising temperatures, but specifically rising nighttime temperatures, because rice likes this kind of warmer day and cooler night.
The rice industry faces environmental threats that can lower yields or destroy crops entirely.
I heard about this from people that make barley and hops for beer. All like the beer producing companies were like, you know, hey brother, we think climate change is fake too, but by 2034 our yields will be destroyed, so we need to move production. There's a very, very funny like Financial Times article. You know, it's like, you know, they don't officially talk about it, but they're like, hey, like, you know, based on what we got to move.
Making it harder for farms to make a profit. For example, water is crucial for rice production, but it can't be too much or too little.
I think we've seen, you know, significant drought in California, causing in 2022 a 50% reduction in planted acres. And now
it rained once.
More water availability this year, significant recovery, maybe 40% increases in yield estimated. And then, of course, you bring water and temperature together, and what you get is moisture, and that can become a breeding ground for pest and disease, or weeds and herbs and things that are already fairly challenging for rice producers.
Right.
When U.S. rice farms can't compete with global rice prices, the government may step in with additional financial safety nets, which is exactly what happened in 2020.
I mean, that's what we do with corn on like a major scale. Like the reason U.S. corn is so powerful is there's like these massive government subsidies, right? So it's like nobody else in the world can compete with our corn production because they can make it at impossibly lower cost. But what that ends up being is that like everything in our fucking country is built on the back of corn and corn syrup because there's such an oversupply of corn. The market is so distorted around corn because of the government subsidies that we're fucking force-fed corn and everything. We're half corn. We're corn people at this point.
Too. The government passed the Rice Production Program as a supplement.
$250 million in funding that was provided by Congress at the end of 2022 was to support rice farmers that grew rice only during the 2022 crop year as a way to offset some of the losses that resulted from the extreme increase in input costs.
Can you grow rice year-round? None of you are rice farmers, I don't know. But don't you require crop rotation on most situations? You can't just blam rice from the same field, right? 360 crop rotation. Corn does what it wants. Yeah, I guess.
Did not correspond with the increases in crop prices that the farmers received.
USA Rice is lobbying Congress to include an updated safety net program in the next farm bill.
What a surprise.
A relatively small investment from the U.S. government goes a long way in keeping our prices stable, but also keeping us competitive on the world market.
Rice farmers can already opt into USDA insurance programs like price loss coverage and agriculture risk coverage.
These programs exist really just to stop these farmers from falling through the cracks, because that would be a huge disaster, not just for the communities, but for their food supply.
Rice growing communities in the 6 states where it's primarily grown are built around the rice infrastructure. So the rice mills, the rice dryers employ people, the farms employ people.
Okay.
It's the entire supply chain.
I mean, these are very important, pillars of these rural communities.
USA Rice estimates that each rice farm adds $1 million on average to their local economies.
Rice farmers and exporters, they're all going to suffer
shockingly
because
small
of distorted prices.
It's such a risky business.
On the other side of a rice shortage, it looks like the market can bounce back, for the most part. Rice prices could drop nearly 10% by 2024. And if that happens, global rice markets may even reach a surplus by 2025.
And
I don't get.
They decide that they've
had a rice shortage should mean that rice farmers are doing well. That means their commodities in more demand and they can sell it at a higher price. A rice surplus in 2024 should wipe them out. Why are they looking for subsidies now? Are you saying global yields are down? I thought it said the yields were down because they weren't exporting. So it's a rice shortage so that you can sell more of what you have. Like, why are USA yields down? Why are all yields down? You're not a rice farmer, you wouldn't get it. How do you sell rice when you have none? They have this bag of it right here. Do you see?
Enough of the
Look, it's overflowing. They've got this fucking big ass bag. Sell this.
Export ban after the election, or when they feel secure politically, they will end the export ban. And then that means that rice prices globally will tank. That will impact all of the countries that export rice again.
A farmer in Louisiana told me, he said, every year we take every bit of money that we're worth and a little more, and we put it in the ground, and we hope we can come back in 6 months and harvest a crop and sell it at the market.
Okay, sure. That's the business, but yes, that's farming, and it's profitable. I'm not saying that there's zero people like this, but there is a lot of history of like huge agribusinesses using this story of this simple mom and pop farmer who's just trying to make ends meet to get massive subsidies, right? Like, they make a ton of fucking money and then they go, old Pa Jenkins not gonna be able to make rent this month unless we... And it's like, okay, most of this money's going to you and you have fucking, 18 trillion acres and fucking 600 gigantic threshers working 24/7. And also, pretty much all the small and pop farmers at this point have been bought out, or they like work on these I forget the name of the term for the programs, but like they're technically independent, but all of their profit and loss goes into the big company. Atrioc, do you think you'll use your huge 100K salary to start farming rice? Doesn't seem relevant. How would I turn that into a rice farm? Is anyone in chat a farmer? Is it fun? It would be interesting for one of those bring your chatter to work day streams. Talk to a farmer. Someone out there really getting it done. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there's only 2 jobs in America that can be called fucking true, homegrown, hard work jobs. Farmer, streamer. Outside of that, everyone's kind of a soy.